And so for those of you who are not from California, I always like to say, stay tuned. California is coming to a neighborhood near you.
New American Dream. Suburban home. Every person having a tract of land. And why not? We had so much land. And it was pushed by the tax dollars that were coming from the gas tax. Guess what? That model is over. We're no longer building suburban tract homes. We're building very few of them. The new model is what? It's not quality of life. Where you have a single family home, you have your TV, and you have 2 cars in the garage. But it's more focused on quality of place. So we're replacing quality of life with quality of place.
If you've ever driven I-5, you've probably seen the big signs for this. This is really an extraordinary piece of property located on the spine of California, right at the base of I-5 and 99, at the bottom of the San Joaquin Valley. For probably 150 years, it's been kind of a mysterious place, privately owned. Nobody really has had access to it. You may have seen the signs, you may have seen the incredible wildflowers that blanket the western edge along I-5 in the spring. But it's always been very much at the top of the list for conservation in California. And the reason for that is it's the largest private landholding in California, 270,000 acres, 9 times the area of the city of San Francisco. And it's all contiguous and it's all under one owner. It's a huge opportunity for conservation. And this is really the main reason why. You have the San Joaquin Valley ecosystem, you have the southern Sierra Nevada ecosystem, you have the Mojave Desert, and you have the coastal range. All of them come together on the Tejon Range. That means the species interact, both animal and plant. And to have this much land unfragmented and really under the control of one owner that you can get in a room with and sit down and talk to is great. And there's been lots of efforts over the years to persuade the Tejon Ranch Company, which is a publicly traded corporation, to talk about conservation, and they've always said no. So I've already kind of explained why this is significant from a conservation perspective. We call it the holy grail of conservation in California.
My name is Warren Whitlock. I am the Associate Administrator for Civil Rights for the Federal Highway Administration. I'm on a detail for the next few months with the Secretary's Office, helping to put together this series of megatours throughout the 11 regions in the country. Secretary Fox issued a draft study earlier this year called Beyond Traffic, a framework for the next 30 years and what the different transportation implications are going to be.
Transportation is literally the road to our future. As part of a larger mega region, Long Beach is attracting non-driving millennials, and you probably saw them coming in, and immigrants who make up a great use of our light rail and our growing bicycle infrastructure.
First of all, it's great to be in Long Beach, California, in the Southern California mega region.
And some of the things that are doing, kind of cutting edge, really should be closely evaluated to determine how they potentially could fit into our options that we provide customers in the future for getting around Southern California and the other megacities here in the United States.
Now, as Chip said, this is the third of our 11 mega region orbs. And so we started off in Sacramento, we went to Phoenix, and now we're here in Southern California. Now, in our research, we identified 11 different mega regions throughout the country. And what we have determined a mega region is a center of economic, social, and infrastructure ties throughout the country. So one of the things you want to look at with this particular mega region is that you're projected to almost a 62% growth rate by 2050. That's a lot more people.
That's how we arrived at the 16,196 residential units that are currently being proposed.
The short answer to your question is we're growing as a city. SCAG is projecting that this city will add about 20,000 people in the next 20 years.
And the population projections for the next 20 years would bring, another about 55,000 people, and depending on how big the average household would be, that could be another 15,000 or 18,000 new households.
Where are all these people going to be coming from? Because a lot of people are leaving California. Businesses have left California. So where are we going to get the increase in population? And schools enrollment have been declining over the years. So where's everybody coming from?
So also birth rates. And what we are also observing is that fewer and fewer people are having fewer and fewer kids.
Fewer children are being born. Fertility rates have been cut in half.
I would hope that we begin to build in the center of West Covina in a denser, walkable, more compact and diverse way.
I am in West Covina in Southern California, and I'm over in what is going to be the new downtown area. We are in Pasadena. They are building this construction site, Stack and Pack, Lux Apartments coming soon. Look at this. They're doing this everywhere. Everywhere they're building Stack and Pack. Okay, oh, another one.
Corona, and there are Stack and Packs right up to the freeway. I've got to get video of this. This is unbelievable what they are doing in this town.
Here we are, Sierra Madre, Pasadena area. Of course, more Stack and Packs being built because you will live where you work. You don't get to leave. We don't want any money leaving the city. Look at all those units. And there's the train right there. Transit-oriented development. You will live next to the train, pay thousands of dollars a month.
Okay, so we're here in Montclair. Okay, so we're here at the Meritage Home Sales Office, and they're putting up the transit-oriented development. And I'm going to check out what your money will buy you.
Look at this thing. Look how big that is. That is humongous. What is that? This is your future, America, right here. Look how big this thing is. Wow. Look at that. Look at all those units.
It's like right now? Jeez, these people are so awesome. Get in an accident filming for Gary. Okay, so here's some more of them. Live Vivery, Live Vivery. You are home. Oh, God, hell no. In my worst nightmare would I want to live in that. Now leasing. Smell your neighbor's farts. Library, now leasing. What do we got here? Oh, do not put an American flag at the top of this. I mean, it's good to see the American flag, but at the Platinum Gateway Apartments, really? Because that's the new American dream. Oh, aren't you excited that you could live here? Look at all that. Oh my gosh, that is a lot of units. And it keeps going and going.
Basically, very few people know what SCAG is. We know what it is because we're involved in this world. Southern California Association of Government covers 19 million people in Southern California. They are an unelected, hugely funded shadow government that their mandate is to put essentially everybody out of their cars. And it's, if you go to SCAG's website, they have a $540 billion plan that's supposedly going to go through 2040 to completely remake Southern California. And just to put that in perspective, the Marshall Plan, where we paid to rebuild Europe after World War II, cost about 2/3 less in today's dollars. So my question is, what exactly are they planning to do with all that money? And it's completely rework the roadways. This is all based on a thing called sustainable development that you listeners may or may not know about. But it is it's a fairly radical environmentalist idea that believes in global warming, believes cars are the thing that is causing it, and it works to get everybody out of their cars into public transportation, on bikes and on foot.
The central plan is called a regional transportation plan. It's actually a federal environmental document that makes sure that everything that we do in our region reaches all of the environmental impact targets that we have in Southern California. The total cost to implement the plan is about $500 billion.
When we put this long-range transportation plan and the sustainable communities together, this has a 25 years horizon, up to 2040. And we have about $500 billion investment in the transportation infrastructure, environmental justice, to make sure the low-income population households and also minorities, their interests are protected. That is very important. That's why we are here. Yes.
Can you define what the minorities are? What minorities are you protecting?
Yes, minorities based on the federal definition, really based on the ethnicity. So any non-white ethnicity, including African American, including Asian, including Hispanic.
So you would be considered a minority?
I would say so. By the federal definition, yes.
Okay, I just want to understand what you're saying.
Yes, absolutely. But as a matter of fact, we do see, that's a very good question, Tracy. We do see a trend that so defined minority may become majority in terms of the population.
So if there's less Caucasian people, then are they the minorities too, or not?
Caucasians are still considered as non-minority by definition.
Where we live in Fontana, Hispanic people are the majority. But
In
numbers. That's just but that's not what you would consider a minority. So because there's less Caucasian people, that's not the minority.
Hispanics, even in your community, they are majority by numbers. They are still defined as minority.
What are we, like, what's the scope of what we're talking about?
Number one is racial policies.
I may be white, I may not be low income, but the fact of the matter is, that doesn't mean that everything has to be distributed equally and evenly, because there is such a thing as structural disinvestment and structural racism. And this is what this plan is trying to do. It's trying to contradict centuries of disinvestment.
It's about reducing greenhouse gases, the gases, the pollution gases that cause elevated temperatures.
In addition, as part of the Senate Bill 32, or move to cap greenhouse gas emissions, and the cap and trade program that was established to go along with that. Revenues are coming in higher than had originally been anticipated. The last auction was in February, netted about $650 million.
A substantial reduction in greenhouse gases.
Who cares? We don't care about greenhouse gases.
How much heat are we trapping? It's an interesting graphic. The extra energy trapped by human-made greenhouse gases is equivalent to 400,000 Hiroshima atomic bombs exploding every day, 365 days per year.
We have to learn how to generate energy in a more sustainable way.
You know, if you're thinking about what do you want Fontana to be known for, maybe Fontana can be the most sustainable city in the Inland Empire.
They have a sustainable development program now with a sustainable program coordinator. It's a full-time staff that came out with this legal challenge.
When did we go from a local control government to a federal control government?
They fool you into thinking you have local control, you don't. Now when it comes to emission standards and environmental impact.
The reason this is happening is because the federal government is setting up a grants and loan system. So as you mentioned, how are we going to pay for this? Well, the way you pay for it is by setting it up so that you can get loans and grants.
But you haven't secured the funding for any of these ideas.
You can't until you have the idea on paper.
So you're going to change the way our lives, the way we live our lives in West Covina to accommodate the requirements for federal funding.
That's exactly it.
That's what you're doing.
Well, first
that's what I just heard you say.
I said we're setting up a general plan to allow us to apply for grants. We don't have to apply.
In other words, yes, but here's what I see as a resident. You're trying to force us all to get on bicycles so that you can reach into the federal purse and get the money, regardless as to what we want in terms of the form of transportation.
You can see that.
No, that's the way it is.
The purposes, that's what you're proposing.
The federal government, when they do that, they're giving you money to redo your street.
But not in a way that will actually work. So what good is that?
So then you don't have money to redo your street.
I think people are getting more and more comfortable with the idea of live, work. We have a lot of discussion, and at the Ontario Forum that Professor Leverage mentioned, we talked about the millennials, and are they different than older generations? Do they want to live differently? Do they want to use transportation differently?
Look at the millennials, really kind of my generation, and perhaps those that are a little younger than me. They're looking for a true work-live environment. So they're looking to move back to city centers. And they're looking for places where they don't have to get in their car and drive for 20 or 30 minutes to get somewhere. They're not going to be faced with enormous traffic challenges because of that.
The changing demographics that's occurring at two levels with the Gen Ys that are categorically rejecting the suburban living format and preferring the urban living format.
That's not true.
So I'm the boomer arguing that millennials will change the future of America's landscape to be more urbanism, more walkable, and so forth.
And the millennial actually is adapting to that kind of life. So it's something called shared mobility, shared economy. People will continue to drive. Most of us will drive in the future, but we'll drive differently. And what was done by a car probably will be done by 5 cars in the future. So people will drive, but there's a shared mobility aspect. Many of the millennials are willing to stay in houses that others stayed in before, willing to share a car, to share a bike. So that will impact how transportation and land use is going to move forward.
Communities forever have been designed as safeness. It's safe. It's the sameness. And you've seen probably many master plan communities, and you live here, it used to be designed where there'd be a walkway and it would meander through a green space, and you would go another mile and it was almost identical to where you were before. And there was a comfort level there. It was a sameness. It felt comfortable. However, the millennials, the iPhone generation, aren't comfortable there at all. The problem is they're used to having things at their fingertips, things happening like this. if you go to any major retail destination that are attracting millennials, they have things for them to see and do, and completely new things all over the place, because their attention span, it doesn't last. And so where this comes from is our generation, we're going to have 2 jobs in our lifetime. They're going to have 27, 15 of which haven't been invented yet. So to go design a specific plan that has all the same stuff, they can't fathom that. We have to capture the people that are growing up in Rancho Cucamonga and moving out. Our dog parks, and there's tons of them, are going to be used as social places like you've never seen before. They're not going to have the typical, here's your piece of bark, here's your piece of lawn. They're going to have a bone bench. They're going to have a fire hydrant. They're going to have artistic art. They're going to have dog birthday parties. They're going to have signs of people that will have the dog's name, and they'll be changing over time. People will know not only the names, but they'll know the names of the dogs, what they look like. And you can see there's going to be different materials going on. They're going to be as fun as you've ever seen.
Additionally, what we saw in this trend is that millennials are driving less.
Remember that ULI, 70% of millennials intend to own their own home, and most of them want single-family detached home. As the economy has gotten better, even millennials, the great myth is millennials will be transit riders. The reality is right now they're driving cars. As they get jobs. And so I couldn't agree with you more. We need everything. We need buses, we need trains, we need light rail.
No, we're talking about trying to minimize, in the long-range plan, minimize single-occupant vehicle use.
So I think it's important to keep in mind that we don't need everyone to get out of their cars. All you need to do is remove 10% of those vehicles.
To give people an access and availability to modes of travel other than the automobile.
The trend is nationwide, and more people are seeing fewer people who want to drive, more people who want access to a wider variety of ways to get around it.
Through encouraging people to get out of their cars with a development pattern that allows them to do that.
Something to consider, because we're talking about keeping people work right where they're at, sticking around, not getting on their cars and driving around, so that could be something to consider.
How do you get people out of their cars unless they feel safe riding in a transit system when all we've known is the security of our cars?
You're trying to get somewhere, right? If you didn't have to drive, that's even better. We're looking at policies, developing policies, and getting this as far as we can.
On transportation, we want to make sure that our roads continue to be in good shape. And we also want to make sure that our streets and our roads are more bike-friendly and pedestrian-friendly.
Here we are, Buellton with their massive bike lane program, because this is sustainability. Small town, less than 5,000 people, probably never any traffic going down this street, but we need a massive bike lane so that no one rides down the street. I am in Riverside, California right now, and this is the epitome of Agenda 21. So you are looking at a bike lane. It is a full lane that goes all the way up the street. So I have noticed in San Luis Obispo that there are no buses in the downtown area. That means that this city is not fair and equitable. It is not a good communist city, even though we just passed by some communist art. So they need to redo their general plan so there can be buses everywhere, because people can't get around if there's no buses. So they need to take out this lane of the road you're seeing right here, put in a bus lane, and then you got your big bike lane. That would be a fair and equitable city, because you have a bus lane, a bike lane, and car lanes. Equality for all.
Wow, so you're working on Saturday? Well, at least you didn't have to go too far, right?
No, it's 20 miles.
Yeah, so did you ride your bike?
No, I don't.
No bike?
I never ride a bike.
Oh, okay.
Never. I don't know how to ride a bike.
I'm just teasing you.
Last Saturday, I had the opportunity to trail to, well, I didn't really ride the bike. I took pictures by the bike. I'll put that out there. Yeah, I did not get on that bike.
Just the extension of one lane of HOV in each direction is a $550 million project.
we're talking about adding 2 lanes in each direction. And it's about 3 times that cost, but think of the capacity improvement that brings.
This is about creating what is going to resonate most with the people as they receive it. So how do we do that? Because one of the challenges we have is, as we work through the process on one side, it's about the language that's used, just like you all have in your independent business. You know, there's as much jargon for education and business and engineering and the other as, you know, one for the other. So it's about making it what resonates most with people.
Increased use of tolls, say managed lanes as opposed to tolling. The public hates the word toll. When you say to people, we're going to toll a lane in order to help traffic move faster, they don't hear anything but toll. If you say to them, we're going to allow solo drivers to ride in a carpool lane for a fee, they go, oh really? How fun is that? So think about the marketing of how you say what you say and add stuff to the discussion. Don't take stuff away. Totally means you're taking something away.
So I will be voting no on this because it still pertains to what you call express lane, what I call toll lanes. My last question from the presentation we had a few months ago was you told CEQA and all the investigations that are going on that before we even put a shovel in the ground, this organization will spend $40 million. Is that still the way through? Before we put the first shovel in the ground. I was given that figure a few months ago.
The overall numbers that were shared with the board last November and were also provided in this recap binder, total cost up to construction starting in 2019 is actually approximately $100 million.
So that's the other thing that you need to think about also, is that it isn't just us standing alone. We're not an island. That our express lanes are part of a network of express lanes that have been approved by the SCAG Regional Council.
Unfortunately, we're going to have express lanes so that single drivers can have an opportunity to ride in carpool.
Because you say so?
No, because it's going to happen. It's already in place. We're seeing it on the 405, the 110, and the 10, and it works.
If somebody comes out with the idea that we're going to use the amount of miles you drive as some form of a punitive measure to regulate your behavior, this program is dead, dead, dead. It'll just never happen.
They're known as the octopuses. Okay, bus. Wow, look at all these buses. This is crazy. Oh my God. What's happening right now? Why is there so many buses?
And most of them are empty.
Okay, there's the Eyewitness News van.
We also have to spend time in educating the younger population of the value of transit, because as they become the new riders or the new users of public transportation, we have to find a way to guide them away from the single cars and understanding the value of transit. We also have to spend time, because we have a number of baby boomers who are retiring in place, and we have to find ways to teach those folks on using public transit, because the majority of us in here today have grown up with cars, and now we have to look at a new way of transporting people as the population grows. So we have to be more agile with technology. We have to look at how with complete streets, we have to look at how complete streets look at walking, biking, public transportation. And we have to educate two populations that are growing tremendously in this area in the country, the younger population and the aging baby boomers.
I'm confident we will create the narrative around what we need to do about transportation. If you look at transportation, I view us looking like New York, where people will in fact rely more and more on public transportation to get to and from one point to the other.
From a planning process point of view, much of the emphasis of the community has been, as you heard me use the word, walkable. And I'll also mention the word lifestyle community, because this is an example of a community which has so many types of different amenities that it is termed lifestyle. So we're talking about, again, upscale kind of interest or buyer or renter for the community that are typically young professionals, young families, retirees that want to find a place they don't need to get in the car every day, have to drive everywhere to find even the smallest ice cream or any kind of shopping or any kind of pool or recreation area. Most of these areas that I've mentioned are all walkable within the community, and it's rare. It's not a rare concept in the nation. Many of the cities throughout the nation are going towards this, I call it, lifestyle community. We can see that there's really a need for a community like this. There's nothing like it, and people just would like not to have to drive everywhere on the weekends.
I think when the governor made the call, it was really, he and his staff, what they were really trying to do is change the culture of California. Their real objective is to make a permanent change that reduces how much water we use. So they want culture to change, and they feel like it's necessary.
And the other thing is that there's been so much growth and demand for water in Southern California.
Where's that growth?
There's all these great habits that you've developed. I hope you've developed them. Cutting back on your watering in your yard, in your household use.
Open borders.
Myself, I never flush the toilet. It scares people when they come to my house.
Nasty.
That's a lifestyle. We're there forever, all right? So water saving and water conservation are a lifestyle. The good old days are gone.
So apparently over at St. Joseph's School, the kids are propagandized that they have to live in a sustainable world, and they're actually being taught that they have to ration food and water.
That we agreed on where we were trying to go so that we could prioritize scarce resources. And so the first period that I was there, it was pretty tough. It was pretty much of a fight, but I had negotiated a pretty good contract, and they couldn't fire me. I think if they had been able to, they probably would have.
As citizens of the whole watershed, create synergies. Look for that 1 + 1 = 3 opportunity.
And that was it. We had a really great
The
time.
sustainability.
And one more, sustainability. There was a thought from one of our members that becoming a sustainable city might provide a challenge in terms of having our standard of living and personal freedoms compromised.
You wrote it.
Compromised, and she has very strong thoughts about that. So,
One thing to keep in mind, we are going to ask everyone to put their recording devices away because we are audio taping this, and we'll be distributing that, and we will also be distributing minutes of this too.
But this is a public meeting. You have a problem with me videotaping a public meeting? I'm sorry that one member of the public showed up and that it's got you guys all riled up.
That we're going to be proposing for the project.
Are you aware of the Orange County, there was, in the Orange County...
You know what, please no interruptions. Allow us to continue the presentation, and it's very disruptive to everyone else. So
Okay, well, SCAG's numbers are completely bogus. I just want to put that out there.
At the end. Okay?
Sure.
All right, thank you.
And at this time, I would now turn the meeting over to Councilmember Warshaw for an active community portion of the meeting.
Before I turn it over to Councilmember Warshaw, I just want to make sure everyone's clear that the tables on the left side are for the appointed creative group members. The audience is here, and the appointed active group members are on the right. So if you're not appointed to one of those groups, then go ahead and have a seat in the audience.
Well, I don't really feel comfortable with your backs are to us.
Yeah, your backs were turned to us.
I mean, can you turn your table so that we feel like, I mean, it feels like you guys are blocking us out.
Right, well, our consultant will be. I will be speaking very little. The consultants will be in front, and they will do most of the speaking tonight. We are here only to
This is just such a strange setup. They're up and their backs are to us. This is highly odd. So we have the community engagement plan, and though if the community comes to this, they're looking up at these people and they're looking at their backs.
But the purpose is for you to discuss and to present. Hold on, this is not we don't want to have a discussion at this point. We'll start having discussion.
I thought this was a community meeting where we get input.
What I'd like to do is, rather than breaking into three groups, maybe just do it as a fluid discussion. Anybody that has any concerns related to public safety. The purpose here is not to have a discussion again, but to make sure everybody has an opportunity.
Again, I talked about some of the violations that we see, junk cars in the yard, failure to maintain the buildings, weeds growing up high, weeds growing up high, weeds growing up high. These are the type of things that we'd be able to drive by and see, and if those things exist on the property, our goal here would be to have them fixed.
Health inspectors, we're just doing a routine inspection going around. In your room, any problems like leaking, damage, mice, rats, or how are you doing?
Why do you got to inspect the inside of the house?
To see if you have violation of health and safety codes of California and Los Angeles County, that we help you.
There it is. Brown is the new green. This is what sustainability is all about.
So, if you will all stand, please. And with the divine beings, and with Bahia himself, let us all take a deep breath and hold it. Remember Bahia, and as you exhale, not yet, together we will breathe life back into Tovanga. The holy, it is good. Yamanhene, I go now.